Hello, I hope you enjoyed watching Fiddler on the Roof as much as I've enjoyed watching it over the many times that I have. It's a wonderful study on what tradition is and how cultures interact. And so I had asked you to answer a couple questions. Who does Tevye think he is? How does his culture influence his actions? What is the importance of tradition? What is negotiable? What isn't? And why do you think that is? Is it wrong to be so steadfast in one's tradition and why? So those are some pretty big questions. So I'm going to start by talking about who Tevye thinks he is. And I'm going to make a perhaps stronger statement that Tevye really knows who he is. He knows that he is a person who's on the lower strata of society. He knows that he is a Jewish man, that he is a husband and a father, and he understands the roles in all of that. He also understands that he is living in a time where the religions are very much divided and have as little to do with each other as possible. The Russian Orthodox Church, as has been portrayed here, sees themselves as far superior, and he works with that as best he can in terms of supplying the needs that people have. So this is who Tevye is as he's coming in, a Jewish man who is deeply rooted in his faith and in their traditions, a Jewish man who is living in a time of upheaval. We noticed that there were the pogroms that were happening in Russia, which actually were happening at the time. And so he's also a member of a first discriminated entity, but then eventually also a persecuted religious group. How does his culture influence his actions? Well, I think his cultures define his actions, quite honestly. There is clear deference that he shows if we're talking about the political structure. There is a sense of truly working hard to provide for his family. But there's also a strict adherence to what would be called the religious rules of the Orthodox Jewish person. And so everything he does is pretty much prescribed. What I think Tevye doesn't understand, and I'm going to put this out there for you, is that Tevye does not understand or see that he's not just a religious man. In fact, he is actually a holy man. And we can see that in the interaction that he has, or the conversations that he has with an unseen God, as he looks up to him and has conversations with him in a very casual tone. And that's actually going to be very helpful for us. It's going to be the thing that helps him to move from what I'm going to refer to as traditionalism to truly embracing tradition. Okay, so then what do I mean by traditionalism? Traditionalism is when somebody holds on to the dead practices that are there simply because that's what we've always done. Maybe we might call it the 7 deadly words of institutional inertia. We never did it that way before, so why should we change now? We see in this movie that that's not exactly what happens. Okay. So what is the importance of tradition? Tradition, as opposed to traditionalism, tradition is the life-giving practices of those who've gone before us that give meaning to us and bring life into ourselves and into our families and into our society. So when we talk about tradition, when I talk about tradition, I am speaking to that kind of a thing where it is who we are. Okay? And you know what? There are some things that are not going to be negotiable, all right? I get that. Being Jewish for him is not negotiable. What does become negotiable for Tevye is his daughter's happiness, right? How do we live that if we are going to be, how do we live our faith and be Jewish when our daughters are wanting to do something quite different? My one daughter wants to get married to another guy who's Jewish, but not to Laser Wolf. Another one wants to get married to a Jewish person who's actually more of a communist or a socialist. Then the last one wants to get married, God forgive us, to a Christian. And that was probably the hardest barrier in the issue for Tevye, just so that you understand that in the Orthodox Jewish tradition, if you marry outside your faith, you're dead to the family. And we see finally come to the end, that is something that does change. And we'll talk about that in the next video. Who we are is often tied up in what we do and what we believe. So the next question, is it wrong to be so steadfast in one's tradition? I think it's wrong to be stuck in traditionalism. I think it's wrong to be stuck in a place where we define ourselves by a set of rules and by those rules only, and only for the sake of the rules. If and when we change that, if and when we decide that we're going to look beyond that to who I am and what I truly believe, and does this really violate my relationship with my family? Does this really violate my relationship with my God? Does this really violate my relationship with my religion? If the answer to those is no, then we should be willing to perhaps make some change in our lives. I hope this video helps you, and that you found it something that can help you understand the movie a little bit more and put some context to it. And I will see you very shortly when I reply to your forum post. Thank you.